So, well, we were all taught to slip, slop and slap to protect ourselves from the sun when we were young, but that message may have been lost over time. At least 2 in 3 Australians will be diagnosed with some form of skin cancer before the age of 70, according to the Cancer Council here in the ACT. Anton, Guinea is a safety leadership expert and joins us for a chat about this. Anton, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Stephen. Thanks for having me, as always.
Where have we lost this message? I mean, it seems to be, and I want to just, I guess, broaden the topic a little bit, because it's not just slip, slop, slap. It's the seatbelt warnings, the drink driving messages, all of these things that we used to do so well from a public information perspective in Australia seem to have fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Stephen. I wonder if we're getting a bit too complacent, mate. I wonder if some of that messaging is actually just too much over time. Because you've got to remember, we had Norm back in the 80s as well. Let's move, let's get off the couch and let's get moving. And of course, obesity rates have gone up. So it's a really tough one, isn't it, to really unpack how we are as a society and why it is that we don't listen to, I guess, some of that public messaging and what it is about the messaging that's not sinking through. And I love the slip, slop, slap. That was an old campaign as well with Sid the Seagull, and they even tried to revamp that in 2007 and add, what was it, seek and slide, so seek some shade and then slide on a hat. And, I think if you said to 99% of Australians, what are the last 2 on slip, slop, slap, I don't think we'd actually know, Stephen.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And it's interesting when you say it was revamped. 2007's a long time ago now.
That's right. It's 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so 15 years ago, and that message probably didn't think, in all honesty. And again, I love that stat, 2 out of 3. Guess what, Stephen? Now, this is the scariest, mate. When I saw this, it freaked me out. Did you know, fun fact for your listeners, that the Australian Medical or Cancer Council of Australia are actually they predict on a yearly basis how many melanomas they think we'll have in Australia. So the number that they're predicting to be diagnosed in 2021 is only 17,000 melanomas.
That's extraordinary.
Predicted already. Oh, crazy. What a crazy number that we can actually look forward into the future and say, that was in 2021. They predicted for 2021 how many numbers of melanoma that they're going to predict, and I can't actually find the final number, but imagine looking out. I wonder what 2022 is, because numbers are actually going up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, because normally when we talk to you, we're talking from a work safety perspective, and this slip, slop, slap message, I guess, is important in that sense, and that we've become more and more aware of, well, it used to be called occupational health and safety, now it's work health and safety, or whatever they call it these days. But you would have thought that, particularly, where you're prone to working in the sun, that employers and businesses were aware of this. But is there a disconnect there as well?
Oh, look, I've got to tell you, I think employers, this is probably my take on it, Stephen, is that I feel like employers do it better than the general public. And I'll tell you why that is because employers have a financial incentive to do so. Like, you imagine if someone got melanoma because your employer hadn't provided you with long sleeves, hadn't provided you with a hat, hadn't provided you with sun cream, and all of a sudden, and I haven't actually heard of any, but it's feasible, Stephen, to understand how people might sue their employer, how this might become litigious. Imagine if you got melanoma and you could trace it back to work, that would be a big deal. So I feel like employers are probably more incentivized based on consequence than the general public, even though the general public really, we've still got fatality to worry about, and so we should really be picking up this message a little bit better than we probably have, I would have thought.
So what's the advice then? Because if the consequence of dying from skin cancer isn't enough to convince us that we need to do something, what do we do?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wonder whether it comes back to, and I think, here's another fun fact, is that it only takes us 15 minutes to get sunburnt. When you and I were growing up, Stephen, and I'm guessing that you're now in your 30s, mate, maybe, or even a little bit older.
Yeah.
Sunburn cream wasn't a big thing, right? And I think that I think even people of our age, Stephen, are still, because we didn't have it when we were young, we're still slow adopters. And so I think we need to model this behaviour. And it's like, I live in Queensland. I live in one of the hottest parts of Queensland, in central Queensland, where it's just as hot as all get out.
Yep.
And I still see parents not. So, you know, when you go to the beach and you'll see, I don't know if you do very often, but, or maybe in Canberra it's a bit harder, or even on the river, you'll see a parent that's got their shirts off and they're trying to get their kids to wear, rashies or put sunburn cream on. We've got to be the example. Like, every single one of us is a leader, right? And I talk about safety leadership. Every single one of us is a leader, and we've got the ability to lead by example. But what people probably don't realise is that it only takes 15 minutes to get sunburn. It takes up to 6 weeks. I tell you, it's only 6 weeks from a mole to a melanoma. 6 weeks from sunburn. If your mole starts changing, you've only got 6 weeks, and a lot of people don't realise that. So I think the narrative around slip, slop, slap could be a little bit different, and it could be a little bit more consequence related. And, you know, like on cigarette packets, we put, you know, people's fingers falling off and all that sort of stuff. And has it had an impact? I haven't really looked into the stats on whether that's been impactful, but I've got to tell you, I wonder whether there's something around, pictures of melanomas that go on sun cream bottles, for example, so that when you buy it, you go, holy crap, I better make sure I use this stuff. But I just think we need to think innovatively, Stephen, and I think we need to be safety leaders as humans so that we actually lead by example.
I think that's a good message. Anton, always good to talk to you. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Stephen. See you, mate.
All the best. Anton Guinea, he's a safety leadership expert. Look, he makes a lot of sense here, doesn't it? I mean, it's something we learnt back in 1981, was when Sid the Seagull started telling us to slip, slop and slap. And then in 2007, we said slip, slop, slap, seek and slide. And as Anton says, that was nearly 15 years ago. Where have we lost that message? Where have we forgotten? 6:17. 20